Hello everyone, welcome to the channel of MeteoMark Weather. It's great to have you here with me today. We're going to be watching a massive winter storm take shape across the plains, Mississippi River Valley, eventually the Ohio River Valley through the Appalachians and parts of the Mid-Atlantic and the Northeast as we head through the weekend into early next week. And right around the 9th or 10th, we have another storm system that could bring wintry precipitation to parts of the deep and mid-south here. We'll be taking a look at this whole winter storm outlook. And a major Arctic blast is expected from central North America, heading south and east. We'll see just how cold it could get. And we'll also be looking at the tropics, especially across the Caribbean here into Central America, the Caribbean islands. Are we going to continue to see that rain and moisture, or do we have a drying trend come the middle to latter part of the month? We'll get into all that in your forecast. Let's get into it. All right, so as we take a look at the GFS first, and then we'll take a look at the European momentarily here. Look at this. We have that lake effect streamer action just southeast of Lake Erie, Lake Ontario. This is going to continue on into Friday and into Saturday. There's lake effect snow warnings in effect from places like Cleveland up to Erie and Buffalo, Syracuse. Significant accumulation is expected on these northwest winds. Now, you do start to see the direction, high pressure building in, and that's going to shut down the lake effect snow machine over there, especially the mid to latter part of the weekend. Now, look at this storm system across the plains. This is where things really start to get cranking here. Look at this. Through Kansas, northern Missouri, all the way through Indiana, Ohio. Look at this area of low pressure. So just to the north of this low is where we'll see the icing, St. Louis, over towards Cincinnati, and through parts of the Appalachians here. Look at this big band of darker blues. This is some heavy snow. We're going to go over those snowfall accumulations just momentarily, but this really starts to pick up. This is 10 p.m. on Sunday evening. And look at this. We really start to break out the heavy snow all the way from Indiana, Ohio, parts of southern Pennsylvania. This could be your storm down through Maryland here. Washington, D.C., you're going to be teetering on the ice snow line. Look at Delaware. Burst of heavier snow into parts of New Jersey as well. So mainly from I-80 southward in Pennsylvania and Ohio here. So look at this. As we get through, let's just back it up just a little bit here. Things start to lighten up during the day on Monday. So you see the low really outpacing the precip here. So let's just go slowly here if we can, because it does start to accelerate. So here we go, 10 a.m. on, this is Monday morning, and then we just continue through time here. You can see those bursts of heavier snow continuing through 7 p.m. on the 6th. This run of the model does miss most of upstate New York into northern and central New England here. So we'll have to watch. It does clip parts of New York City here into parts of southern Connecticut and Rhode Island. So this is going to move out really fast. It doesn't phase with any northern stream branch of energy here. And then we get another system trying to develop here. This run in particular is a little bit further to the north, but it's still over the Gulf. This would break out some very heavy snows and ice across parts of the deep and mid-south here from northern Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and Atlanta. This is all the way through the 9th and 10th of January, so a lot can change. But look at this. Heading towards North Georgia, the Carolinas, this could be a massive ice event and heavy snow breaking out in Virginia Beach and the Outer Banks here right around the 11th. Could this actually make a run up the U.S. East Coast? It is quite possible. This run in particular has it sliding off just south of Delmarva and the Outer Banks, but bursts of heavier snow around Washington, D.C. over to Atlantic City is quite possible. We'll keep an eye on it here. And as we head longer term here, you can see, looks a little quiet. Another lake effect snow outbreak here for parts of the eastern lake. So we'll watch for that possibility as we go through the middle of the month, and another southern storm here as well. Taking a look at the European model here. As we continue through time, there is that lake effect event over Friday, Saturday time frame. Northeast Ohio, western New York, northwestern Pennsylvania, and then the Syracuse, Utica, Cortland region of upstate New York. Thankfully, by later Saturday, that does start to lift out. And then here's our southern stream system. As I look at this European model run, look at it is a little bit further to the south than the GFS here. GFS is more up in this area. So to the north here, we have that heavy wintry precipitation falling. And any way you slice it, we're looking at a narrow it's actually a pretty large swath here. A narrow band of ice and snow, and then big band of snow to the north of it here, of that ice band. So it's going to be quite interesting as we head through. This is Monday morning. European going a little stronger on this initially before weakening just slightly off the coast. But here it is. We do have some sort of inverted trough scenario as well. So it could help to focus the snow, especially on the backside of it here through Washington, D.C., Atlantic City, Harrisburg, Pittsburgh, and just areas southward here, especially across West Virginia here. You can see that sliding off the coast, and let's see what this sets us up for longer term here. So on the European model, there's that southern system diving along the coastline here. Of course, we lose our precipitation outlook here, but there it is, heading across the Gulf of Mexico. That is the trend. So here's the fun part. Here is the snowfall forecast. So let's plot this out here first on the GFS. So I'll take it separate with the lake effect snow here into the first part of the forecast period here. But here we go. As we stretch through Sunday, Monday, and early Tuesday, this is the lion's share of the snowfall here from Kansas, northern Missouri, central Illinois, Indiana, southern Ohio, Pennsylvania, Maryland, West Virginia, southern part of New Jersey here. And then look at that sharp gradient. Now, this is all lake effect up here in New York, Pennsylvania, northern Ohio. So if we just go out a little bit further, there's another snowstorm, maybe potentially for Texas as we head towards the 9th and the 10th. So let's take the European model, this latest run just in. Of course, there's that burst of snow, and then the lake effect behind it Friday night and Saturday. Look at this, European going slightly to the south. So here it is, especially over towards the mid-Atlantic. It's really pushed down in through parts of Maryland, extreme southern New Jersey, Delmarva area, 6 to 12 inches. West Virginia, southwestern Pennsylvania getting some. Pittsburgh, you might actually eke out some warning criteria here across all of central and southern Ohio here, Indiana. Let's take a zoom in. So let's take the Ohio Valley first on the European run. There we go. Look at that. So the purple zones, this is where your best chance of 6 to 12 inches, locally higher. The mountains of West Virginia beyond 12, 18 inches. So much of this area getting a solid 6 to 10 with locally higher to 12. Even Pittsburgh, 6 inches over towards these areas of southern, central Ohio, picking up at least 5, 6 plus inches. Even down into extreme northern Kentucky here through southern Indiana, northern parts of Missouri. And here's our GFS plot. Oh, wow. Yeah, that's GFS going much better on the snowfall ratios here. Northern part of Missouri through central and southern Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, even there towards Pittsburgh, 8 inches. And look at down through parts of central and southern Ohio here, up towards 16, 17 inches. So this is getting pretty interesting. Let's move a little tad to the east here. And as we head into the mid-Atlantic, here we go. Yeah, look at this. Right around Washington, D.C. on the GFS, by the way, that's about 7 inches. Up to Baltimore, 8 inches. Harrisburg, 9.1. Atlantic City, 6. Pittsburgh, right around 9 or 10. So there you have it. This could be quite a snowstorm for you. Let's take a look at the Euro. And here's our latest European model run, that initial shot of snow with that short wave moving through and then lake effect up here, northeastern Ohio, northwestern Pennsylvania. But here we go. That snow moving in later Sunday evening into Monday. Look at that. So here's where the European bias is, a little bit further to the south. That would mean the difference, like Harrisburg. With the GFS, you were in that solid 6 to 10. Now you're in the 4.2. So it's going to be interesting to see which model verifies here. Of course, the European obviously has a better track record. But, at this point, it's interesting to see. We're going to have a large area of warning criteria snowfall here from southern Ohio through northern Maryland, West Virginia, northern Virginia, I should say. Most of Maryland, in fact, pretty much all of Maryland, I would be willing to bet here, all pretty much in a warning criteria. Washington, D.C., let's get some of the markers out here. 9 inches around Washington, D.C., 7.5 around Baltimore. Philly, this one, you're right around 5. It's a sharp cutoff to the north, 1 to 2 inches here. Long Island, New York City, and almost nothing here in New England. But look at here. Over towards Pittsburgh, around 6 inches, and averaging around 6, 7, 8 inches across southern Ohio. And here's the view of it from the northeast. Here it is across the mid-Atlantic. There's the European run, and here is the GFS run. So you can see the northern bias here of the GFS versus the European. Still in southern New England, even on the GFS, you're not eking out much of anything here. But New York City about 3, Philadelphia around 6 to 7, even Washington, D.C. around 9 inches, 10 inches around Baltimore, nearly 10 inches in Harrisburg. And look at this, over towards southwestern Pennsylvania, over to southern Ohio. West Virginia. This is the jackpot here. 12 to 18 plus inches. And, I wanted to show you, here's the initial, I'm going to show you the mesoscale model one, the NAM3KM, just momentarily. But look at this. Next week's lake effect snow, we can't emphasize enough how this is obviously with Friday into Saturday. But look at this. As we go into next week, I think that Tuesday night, Wednesday, Thursday time frame will pick you up about 3 to 6 inches with locally higher amounts to 8 to 12 inches, especially up towards Erie and Syracuse areas. Now let's take a look at your short-term lake effect. I know there's a lot of lake effect events going on, but here we go. Let's go with the NAM3KM because this is going to give us a better resolution. So here we are. This takes us Friday, Saturday, and early Sunday. You can see what's going on here. It's so interesting to see, like Cleveland, the models are only putting about 1 inch or 2, and the northeast 3 to 4 inches, whereas Erie, Pennsylvania, just southeast of Erie, 6, 7, 8 inches. Up here towards Oswego, northern Oneida County, look at this. You could get upwards of 20, 25 inches just around the Tug Hill Plateau here. And let's look at the HRRR. Yeah. This is why I wanted to show you it, because right just south of Cleveland here, Akron area, especially southeastward, this one sets up a band, a very narrow band, close to 6 inches. That's why I'm saying 3 to 6 inches for most areas across the area. With locally higher as you get more into northeast Ohio, especially northwestern Pennsylvania, Chautauqua, Cattaraugus, Allegheny counties. This is where you could see upwards of, close to a foot. But look at over here in Oswego County through Oneida County here. This is just north of Syracuse. It's 30 inches. You could see some pretty crazy amounts in here. And here's our liquid equivalent here on our European run. Takes us all the way through the middle of next week, right around the 8th. So here we go. There's our big storm system, looking at liquid equivalent averaging about 3/4 to 1.5 inches. And then out here in the Pacific Northwest as well. Now take a look at the GFS liquid amounts. Look at that. Yeah, western parts of Oregon and northwestern California there. Here, that's bullseye, 6 to 8, 10 inches of liquid equivalent. And then as we continue through the middle of the month, you can see these storm systems across the plains, the deep south, up into the Ohio Valley. This is going to average you out to about 1.5 inches, close to 2.5 inches of liquid equivalent. So I wanted to touch on the lake effect snow event short term here. Short term meaning Friday into Saturday night and early Sunday. So yeah, we do have a little bit of a lift of snowfall here that's not necessarily lake effect. This is heading on into the 3rd, into the 4th. So we'll get a burst of snow across Ohio. This is going to usher in that colder air by 11 a.m. here. So yeah, burst of snow around Pittsburgh, southward through the Appalachians into southern and central Ohio. On the backside of this is going to set up the lake effect feeder bands right off of the lake. So these snowbelt areas, look at that, Akron, Cleveland. This is a 1 p.m. on Friday. And then north of Syracuse there up towards Oswego County. Burst of about 1 inch or so here in Harrisburg. But look at this. As we continue through 8 p.m., you start to see a multi-lake connection up here from Lake Huron, Superior, down and through parts of Lake Erie, Lake Ontario region. We'll have to watch for that because that's going to be, bring up some massively localized lake effect. And you know how localized these can be. But Syracuse really getting hit, Cortland, Utica, Cleveland, especially northeast of Cleveland up to Erie and just south of Buffalo. This is where the lake effect snow bands are really going to get set up here through January 4th here. This is Saturday morning at 7 a.m. You can see Cleveland, Erie, Buffalo, Syracuse, heavy snow accumulations. And then look at this from southwest to northeast as we head during the day on Saturday, 7 p.m. There it is. It's a fading memory. But up here in Oswego, Jefferson, and Lewis counties up through the Adirondacks, this is where, especially Oswego County, wouldn't be surprised to get 3 to 4 inches an hour. Now for next week's lake effect event, I wanted to point out here as we head through, this is getting later on into Tuesday night and Wednesday. I think this is the best chance for a lake effect snow event, especially the Cleveland, Akron area over to Erie, Buffalo, Syracuse area. This is where you could pick up quite a bit of snow. So we're looking Tuesday night, Wednesday, and into early, late Wednesday night, early Thursday morning before it finally shuts off. So let's take a look at our 500 millibar height anomalies. Gives us a good idea of what's going on upstairs in the atmosphere. As we head through this weekend, we got that big East Coast trough. And, of course, up here across Greenland and northeastern North America, that's where we're getting the massive ridging. So this is a good snow pattern for snowstorm action and cold in the east. We get that next system Monday into Tuesday from the deep south into the mid-Atlantic. Look at that pushing off the coast, and we just keep reinforcing these areas of low pressure. And look at another one rounding the bend here into Thursday, January 9th. And as we go out in time, that pivots to the east. So very active across eastern North America. And I want to make notice of something here on the 15th. Look at this massive blocking up here over Greenland. That is serious blocking. We're just going to continue one storm and trough after another as these propagate across central and eastern North America. And here on our European run, a very similar picture is painted here as we head all the way through the middle of next week. To get that East Coast snowstorm and massive cold and snow across the east, you want to see this massive ridge all the way up to the Gulf of Alaska like it is here, and serious blocking up here into Greenland, and that's what we're going to be seeing. And let's quickly take a look at the NAO index. This is why January could be record-breaking here. At least breaking snow droughts here across much of eastern North America as the NAO index goes seriously negative for the first time in quite some time here towards the -2 index. And looking at the MJO index as we progress through the rest of January, we're going to be going from phase 7 through 8 into 1. That is very conducive for East Coast snowstorm action and snow and cold across eastern North America, all the way into early February. All right, so let's start off with the GFS here in the tropics, for the Caribbean especially. I know a lot of you are wondering if this rain's going to continue. I know some of you, where it hasn't rained, it's actually getting hot, more humid. We haven't had many fronts. But here we go. As we head through the 4th, the 5th, into the 6th, you can see there is a lot of moisture here across the Caribbean. Now, we do get a little bit of a drying trend over here into Belize, Honduras, Nicaragua, Costa Rica here. But look at this. We start to see these moisture surges. 2 areas in particular, Grenada, Trinidad, Tobago, all the way over to Panama and Costa Rica here. We also have some showers up here by Jamaica, Puerto Rico in particular. And then as we head through the 7th into the 8th, into the 9th and the 10th, GFS is kind of showing something here where we're going to have a major storm system up across the Gulf by this point, right around the 10th and the 11th. So that's going to pull up some moisture here across the Yucatan. Look, we do have some drying in Honduras and Nicaragua by this point. A few showers over towards Jamaica and Puerto Rico and heading over towards the Dominican Republic. But going out longer term, what do we have going on here on our GFS model? It is trending drier, especially by the middle of the month. Look at up here towards Florida. I did want to mention this. This is quite some serious precipitation. This could be a big severe weather outbreak across the eastern Gulf. You can get those kind of severe weather events moving through Central and South Florida. But here it is. Last frame on the 18th. We do have a few gusty showers coming through the Lesser Antilles here, but look at here across Central America. Yeah, there's still some showers, but they're not as heavy. Jamaica, some scattered showers. Puerto Rico, you're clear as a bell here. And the Bahamas, you're getting that northern stream system. All right, so take a look at the European model across the Caribbean here. As we head through Friday, you get a sense that the precipitation is moving further to the south here. So there's less up here across the northern and central Caribbean islands. There's more down towards Trinidad, Tobago, Grenada, Barbados, all the way over towards northeastern Jamaica, Belize, and northern Honduras, all the way down to Panama and Costa Rica here. Costa Rica. So as we continue in time, you can see what's going on. As we head into the weekend, these batches of precipitation just continue to consolidate. There's northern Honduras continuing with the heavy rain, just like I showed you on the GFS model. And as we head through the 5th into the 6th, look what's going on here. There is drying conditions in Jamaica here, and especially the northern part of Hispaniola. Puerto Rico is looking drier by this point. Look at all the way up to Cancun and Cozumel, these areas. We're looking wetter. Honduras is looking a little drier by this point. So let's just continue. Yeah, we do start to reconsolidate the moisture here over Central America. And look at out here. Trinidad, Tobago, it's lightening up. Jamaica, you will get some showers, it looks like, right around the 7th into the 8th on these northeasterly trade winds. But look at this. As we head through the 8th into the 9th, there it is. We lose our precipitation feed, but you get the idea. So I wanted to show you the mid-layer dry air analysis. There actually is not a whole lot of dry air. This is very unusual for early January. And as we continue through this weekend, you can see where the moisture surge is. One thing to note, look at the dry air really starting to cut off here. The moisture across the Lesser Antilles, especially across the southern Lesser Antilles. Kind of strange there, because it's not showing up quite like that on the precipitation models, which I'll show you momentarily. But this big ball of moisture across the extreme southern part of the Caribbean just continues to blast. However, I wanted to show you this because as we go through the middle part of January, look what starts to happen. We have all this dry air coming in from the east. We're still left with very moist air across Central America and a lot of moist air here across the southern Gulf as well. But look where the dry air's coming in from. It's coming in from the east, and eventually, come later January, this could help shut off some of this tropical moisture. All right, so let's take a look at the Western and Central Caribbean. This takes us through next Wednesday. So here we go. Northern parts of Honduras, we're looking at an average of about 80 to 125 millimeters. Southern and coastal Belize here towards 80 to 100. Costa Rica, we're approaching 200 millimeters here. So, and then the northeast part of Jamaica. I know parts of central and western Jamaica have been pretty dry as of late, and it looks like that's going to continue. But look at here with the northeasterly winds. Portland Parish and surrounding parishes up here, borderline, we're getting excess of 100 millimeters all the way through the middle of next week, and then over towards Puerto Rico here as well. We got a little bit of a bullseye. And if we take a look at the GFS, a very similar picture. We can go all the way out to the middle of the month here. Let's take a look at this. So yeah, the north coast of Honduras still getting close to 100, 125 millimeters through southern and coastal Belize here as well. And then down and through parts of Central America. So, you know, many of these rainfall amounts getting into that 4 to 6 inch range. Northeastern part of Jamaica. Here it is, a little bit lighter on the GFS, but you get the idea. Close to 100 millimeters in northeastern Jamaica. The rest of Jamaica staying pretty dry for the most part, just a few showers. And then as we head to the Eastern Caribbean, here on our GFS model, the wettest weather you're going to be looking at, Trinidad, Tobago, Barbados, Grenada here, you could all see 70 to 125 millimeters of rainfall. It's getting you up towards the 3 to 5 inch range. And flipping over to our European run here, you get the idea. There are drier times ahead through the northern and central Caribbean islands here. It's mainly the southern Lesser Antilles here, Trinidad, Tobago, Barbados, and Grenada. These areas we're going to be looking at the 60 to 90 millimeter, and some areas approaching 100 millimeters. All right, so taking a look here at our Canadian weather outlook. So the one thing that's going to catch your eye here, let me just back up. It's a system off the U.S. East Coast. Most of Canada at this point's pretty quiet. You do have some snow showers in the Canadian Rockies here into southwestern Canada. We have this big low up by Hudson Bay. However, watch this system right over towards, yeah, I know some of you in Nova Scotia wondered if you were going to get hit by this. It's mainly going to be areas north and east. So maybe clipping Sydney here, Cape Brenton Island here, but look at this. Newfoundland, this is the target. 958 millibar low on the 5th and the 6th. This is going to be a massive blizzard for you. Tremendous. And it does try to wrap around, but it looks like Nova Scotia gets missed by these two systems. So that is the answer I have for you in Nova Scotia. Look at the rest of Canada as we head longer term through the 9th and the 10th. Yeah, we have a little Alberta Clipper moving through Manitoba here, Western Ontario. This Pacific system moving in with mountain snow valley rain. Big old 1046 millibar high up here in north central Canada. That really controlling the weather. And then as we continue through the 12th into the 13th, looks like Newfoundland's getting brushed again by a massive blizzard, but look at this. The weather's going crazy quiet here in Canada, and that has a lot to do with the massive Arctic blast that's been heading south towards the United States. Taking a look at our liquid equivalent precipitation here across Canada, yeah, with the exception for both extreme coasts, like the west coast here, right in this area, and then Newfoundland, Canadian Maritimes, most areas staying dry here. However, look at those coastlines. That's in excess of 100 to 200 millimeters, and a lot of that is frozen. And let's take a look at snowfall amounts here. Yeah, eastern Canada and then the west coast of Canada really picking up tremendous snows here. However, look at where the population centers are, from Nova Scotia all the way through southern Quebec and Ontario, stretching even through the central provinces here. Not too much until you get to the west coast where you're over like 70 to 110 centimeters. Look at Newfoundland though. This is where things really, really get crazy. 90 to 130 centimeters. This is going to be blizzard criteria. So across the Western Pacific, we don't have a whole lot to talk about right now. This northern stream system's trying to push through the northern Philippines. It's moved through Vietnam here. But for the most part, in the intertropical convergence zone, as we head next week, the only thing we're going to be watching is this system here. It's pretty far to the south. We'll see if this affects the Philippines closer to the 12th and the 13th. Here it is on the 11th, the 12th, and the 13th. But it does become entrained into this frontal boundary to the north. You can see most of Asia is quiet. The activity with the mountain snow valley rain is over here by Japan. And Japan's been getting hit with quite a bit of snow as of late, especially South Korea as well, but it's mainly Japan. But here we go. As we head into the 14th, 15th, 16th, look at this. You can kind of see evidence this frontal boundary is making it through the central Philippines. And before we continue with more weather, check out these awesome, amazing maps that you won't find anywhere else.
I am proud to announce that I am now an affiliate with Trilogy Maps. TrilogyMaps.com, bringing you the most digital, customizable maps found nowhere else on the internet. These maps are simply stunning. It's an advanced layering system that makes these maps great for making forecast maps with ease, or any other maps that you would like to display important information on. The resolution on these maps is simply amazing. From the detail of everything here in the States, and you can also create stunning, digital, professional layered maps from also across the entire world. And don't forget, in checkout, the discount code option, use my code, MeteoMark, hit apply, and you will get 20% off your order. So if you want the most professional, customizable, and affordable weather maps found nowhere else on the internet, look no further than TrilogyMaps.com. Link in the description down below along with your discount code.
So taking a look at temperatures here as we continue through the rest of the week. Friday, look at this. Massive single digits and below zero. 20s all the way through the Ohio Valley into parts of the interior northeast into the lower 30s. Here across the south, we do start out warm, but watch as things go out here in time here. This massive Arctic blast is heading south. So yeah, as this gradient really tightens, look at this. Yeah, this is going to help bring the wintry precipitation to parts of the mid-south. And look at here, 20s all through the Ohio Valley, eastern Great Lakes. Sunday, this is going to be a really cold day. And watch this as we head into Monday. Look at the pivot. This surge of cold air continues east. Look at this, 40s down to the Gulf Coast like New Orleans and Houston. And Tuesday, we just reinforced that teens and 20s here across the east, 30s for the big cities of the Northeast down to Washington, D.C. So this is helping support some of this wintry weather and precipitation. Look at that. Many areas struggling to reach 20 degrees. by Wednesday, January 8th. The extended forecast from our hometown viewers, bring it to this Grand Zipper, Susquehanna River Valley, New York, and Pennsylvania. Friday, those temperatures getting up towards the freezing point again. Winds gusting out of the northwest around 20 miles an hour. Friday night, we're going to go down into the teens. Saturday, some scattered snow showers, less than an inch again. Into Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, we head towards a cooling trend, I want to say there. Mid-20s for highs and overnight lows in the mid-teens. I hope everybody's going to have a happy new year and a good Christmas and holiday season. Don't forget to visit my website, MeteoMark.com. Smash that like button, question or comment down below. I love to read your questions or comments. Share the video with all your friends and family. Subscribe if you haven't. You can also visit me at Facebook at MeteoMark, Weather Northeastern, also Hurricane Northeastern. And don't forget, watch me for future weather updates. I do have my link in the description down below and at the end of this video for my winter 2024-2025 outlook. Thanks, everyone.